Hi there, I've got this acrylic pour, which is a tree ring pour, and I love all the patterns that are within it, but it's not perfectly round. It's one I did as a demo, and I've had to bring it home, and there's a little mark here. So I've decided I'm going to gild around the outside, and I want to kind of make it into some bubbles. Not quite sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a go. So first thing I'm going to do is just put, this is a cake tin, and I'm just going to draw around the inside. Now this is a pen that should come off when I wash it. I can just about see that. Just want to get an idea of where there's good bits to bubble over. Now, just take out where we overlap. So I don't know if you can just about see that drawing. I don't want it to be too dominant, and I'm going to have to put the mixture on freehand, so this is just to give me a guide as to where to go. So I'm just going around this, making sure I can see it. Now I've got it there. Come around here. Just about see it. It's very faint. So I can see that. I quite like that bit there, so I'm going to draw around the base of this cup. Now this one I'd like to have in front of my big bubble, so I'm going to take that out of there. I've made an extra mark, so I need to get rid of that. That's that one. So I think I'm going to have another little one down here. Okay, that one didn't want to stay put. There's a little funny mark there, so I want to cover that over. Is 3 bubbles, little bubbles and the big one enough? I think it probably is. So I can just about see it. I know it's not very easy to see on screen. So I'm going to start off just trying to put this at a little angle so that you can see the surface a bit better. I'm going to be using my Pebeo Mixture Relief, just going over these lines.
Wreck-It Ralph, because he's all over the shop half the time. How hard did you work in training?
No, I just need to put himself, his mindset in a certain image, and then, which he did great. That's why I call him the superstar, because he put himself in that certain way. It makes.
That's not what she calls you on a Monday, though, is it?
No, I can't say them words.
Although your feet have been through it, you just brought them up.
Mate, I said to her, I said, hang on, are my feet supposed to be purple? Is this normal? And then she said, she took her short, her foot was bleeding.
No.
I was like, oh. I said, the difference is she's got dancer's feet and I've got actor's feet, very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
She's someone looking after those feet.
Very sensitive.
Talking about looking after those feet, I'm glad to see you were. Take a look at this.
Oh, my feet are killing me. I thought my knees were bad. My feet, oh, look what I've had to resort to. Nick the wife's foot spa.
What I love as well, you mentioned your wife, she's a dancer as well.
Yeah.
I mean, she got zero sympathy for you, because she's now sitting there going, nah, yeah, you know what I'll do.
Honestly.
Exactly.
I walk into the room like steptoe, and then she went, just pull me in the air for a bit. I was sitting on the bed with my feet in the air. Honestly, it's not glamorous behind the scenes, it's strictly, I tell you.
Well, thank goodness for the foot spa.
See the state of my chips and peas and all my
I've seen it all, honestly. That's all we could show at 6:30 on the
Welcome to the dancer world.
Now, there was the feet, which was, you know, gone through issues with. There was something else that Nancy was very, very on to. Let's have a reminder. What's happening now?
Oh, who's elbow? Elbow? Oh, elbow! You see me go, oh, I keep doing it. It's one of them.
Right, talking about this elbow, what were you trying to get him to do?
That.
No, look, right now is perfect.
Right?
You get money, you get something that sometimes the job tiny little bit, but I don't want that become the note from the judges, because I knew he did perfect while we did the rehearsal. So I just need to keep reminding him, elbow.
Honestly, it's my favourite part of the whole week is when that VT comes out online of what you say during the dances. I crack up every bit. That really tickled her. Elbow!
Elbow! 1, 2, 3, 4, elbow!
I'm
Elbow!
going to hear that. I'm making it my ringtone. I'm literally going to my ringtone.
Shouts at me all.
I love it. The scores, brilliant. You were up a point on the last 2 weeks. How are you feeling with the scores?
Honestly, this is how I feel. I can't and we can't control the scores. I thought I did the best I could. And honestly, I look at Nancy when we finish the dance and I think if she's happy, if my teacher's happy, then that's all that matters. And because I know I've done her proud, and that's all I want to do. The scores I can't change them. And, I hope they've been better. But I always want to be better than I am, because that's what I do. I try and push myself and see how far I can go. And I'm loving this journey. I'm loving every second of it. So I want to keep showing that I'm improving.
You're still here. You're still here.
Exactly.
And we're over the moon that you
Trying my
are.
best, and we are, and she's amazing. Really. I don't know her.
And this week, you're going to be taking on the waltz. And you're dancing to this banger. How many times? 3 times. 3 times, I like it. You've only had a few hours of training today. What are you getting on? Are you liking it?
Yeah, it's tough. It's good. It's a very emotional song for me. It means a lot to me, this song. So it's been an emotional day. It's been a bit of a cloud. So she's been trying to teach me, and I've not been myself because I've been a bit emotional. But that was it. Okay.
I take it for personal reasons.
Yeah.
For personal reasons.
Yeah, the song my dad used to sing to me.
Really?
And I didn't choose the song. They sort of said, "Do you want to do it?" And then
It's always the music thing.
but it's just absolutely, it means a lot.
Lovely.
And what's very strange is, when you go through grief, you think you can talk about things, you can hear songs, and all of a sudden it hits you like a ton of bricks. And this routine, I was dancing with it today, but you know what? It'll be an honour on the night to be able to do it. I just hope I can hold it together and I can concentrate, because today I really have my head all over the place.
Listen,
I have to sing the song. I mean, I really don't want to show my singing skill.
listen, I know what you can do now. If you start getting too emotional, you can shout, elbow! Elbow! And we'll bring it
Today she said,
over.
I'll sing it, you won't be emotional then. It's just
If I sing it, you definitely get emotional. I can't wait to see this one.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck with it.
Yeah.
Proud to Bruce for another week. Give it up Will and Nancy, everyone. Right, next up, I am gonna. Oh, Huxley, how are you, baby? Oh, high five. How are you? What are you doing? Here's all the details she needs. Cheers for letting me know, Bugsy. What? Oh my goodness, what are you going on about?
Calling all Strictly fans, we're making your dreams come true. You could be in with a chance of winning 2 tickets to the Strictly Come Dancing final, taking place at Elstree Studios on Saturday the 17th of December, plus an exclusive VIP tour backstage of It Takes Two the night before. You'll also be treated to a 2-night stay in a spa hotel, and all your travel will be taken care of. To enter our Strictly prize draw and have the opportunity to donate £10 to BBC Children in Need at the same time, all you have to do is text the word dance to 81155. Once we receive confirmation of your entry, a one-off voluntary donation of £10 will be made to BBC Children in Need. You can opt out of the donation by replying cancel to your entry confirmation text within 60 minutes. Entry text will be charged at your standard network message rate. You must be 18 or over and have the bill payer's permission to enter. The prize draw will close for entries at 10 a.m. on Friday the 25th of November 2022. Please do not enter after this time as your entry will be counted, but you will still be charged. The winner will be randomly selected and notified by phone by Saturday the 22nd of November 2022. For full terms and conditions and privacy notice, please visit bbc.co.uk/strictly. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's a great competition. Now my final guess might have found this who danced off so far this year, but that performance at the weekend gave us anything but the blues and saw them walk straight into week 8 of the competition.
Every week you come, you commit, and you give your absolute best. Anytime that you're up on 2 toes, you don't want to come out with a clunk. And too many times you went toe-toe, clunk on the heel.
Graceful, elegant, stylish. I absolutely adore. Here's Claire and Vito. That was such a stunning dance. It really, really was. How did you both feel when you came on stage after that?
I mean, I was just on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it. I've never danced like that in my life. It was the most partner dancing we've ever done as well so far. Like in the entire time. And on Monday and Tuesday, I was going straight with the technique. It was so difficult. I didn't think it was ever going to click. And then by Thursday, it started to make sense. And
Pieces
it
started
was,
to fit.
special.
It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. So
Put it in the wrong place.
So, I mean, with you, you guys are not boyfriend and girlfriend.
No.
How hard is it to do that with your pro partner, to get that romance on the ballroom floor?
You know that she's such an artist, as you know, we know this, and we have this kind of empathy, for each other. So we don't need always to speak like too much. We just, look in each other's eyes, and I must say that we don't plan any of the emotion after we are going to do on Saturday. So we just, when it's Saturday night and the music starts playing, something happens every Saturday. It's the same thing. We just look in each other's eyes, and it comes, a kind of
That
match.
click, that magic.
Yeah, that we don't practice about that. We don't talk about that. We just, understand each other
Yeah.
with feelings. And
Although to practice the hold and to get my neck back, he would eat cheese and onion crisps. And then he'd go, and I'd go,
And there's my vision of Vito. There.
a good strategy actually. She was so.
That was it. That neck was back. What I loved as well is, let's talk family for a minute, because Kesha was there on Saturday, your
Yes.
sister. We saw her in the BT as well. What did she make of the performance?
she could not believe it. She's just like, Claire, you've never done any dancing like this before. She just looks at us and she's like, I don't understand how you're doing this. And
I mean,
she,
you are more, in my head, you're more of a Latin girl. You like giving it a shake and all of this, but this was just so different for you.
this is the thing, and this is what I love about the Strictly experience, and I'm so grateful to everyone that voted for us, because we get a chance every week to show a different side, and it's really special, and I never know what I'm going to be like with every style of dance.
But it worked, and we loved it. And sticking with the familia, I saw your mum and dad in the audience. It was so.
So I've put my squeezable mixture, my tube mixture, onto my outlines, and I can see the black lines underneath that I drew because it has dried completely clear. So what I want to add onto this is this mirror effect gold leaf. So Let's take this out. This comes in sheets, so these foiled sheets. I'm going to take one of these out, move that to the side. And what you get with these sheets is it's gold on one side and you get this matte silver on the other side, and this is the side that will stick to the glue, and this is what you will end up with on the top. So what I do is I'm just going to lay it down and just rub over where I have the mixture. And you'll see it doesn't need a great deal of a rub. As I peel this off, you get this beautiful gold. It's not showing up that well on the camera, but it is there, and you can see it's taken the gold from there. But I can overlay this multiple times just to make sure. I see what's happening. It's gone darker where I've got the black line underneath. This one here didn't have the black line, I just freehand drew that, and you can see that's brighter gold. So I will carry on rubbing this, and I just move it and do it in another spot on the thing just to make sure I haven't missed a bit. You'll see it just doesn't stick when all the mixture has been covered. There, you're beginning to see the gold show up. That's beautiful. Very happy with that. Now the mixture can take an hour or so to dry. You can speed it up with a hairdryer. I left this one overnight because I was busy, and it's still absolutely fine today. So you can see where this is taking all the gold off the back there. I think I have all the areas covered that I've put my mixture on, so you can see that beautiful mirror finish gold. So now I need to make my bubbles bubbly. So there's two things I need to do. I need to put some shadows in there, and then I need to put a highlight on there, which I'm going to do with the silver foil. So let me get set up and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I've done one here just to show you what I'm going to do, and I've put some shading around this side, and I've used the black from the pouring experiences, which is slightly transparent, which is good because I don't want to hide all the beauty of what's under there. And then I've put some silver on as the highlight. So let me show you what I did. So if I just do it on here, and I've obviously got to have them all with the light hitting the same part of them. So I'm just going to come in and very carefully come up to this gold line that I've created. And because this is a little bit transparent, you can just layer it up, take your time and do it in a couple of layers. So I've just cleaned my brush and pushing a little bit of that back. Just put a little bit more right along the edge. Now I will take it all the way around, but on the far side it's only going to be very light. Oops. Want a little more on this side. Clean my brush out and just blend that out a little bit. So hopefully we've got this sort of slightly more 3D shape. And then what I have to do is come back to my mixture and just pop some of this down where I want that highlight to be. Now I chose to do it as like 2 windows, not 4 windows, just this little section like that. But I can't put the silver on there until that has completely dried. So I'm going to carry on and do the rest of these. I'll probably speed this bit up because I'm sure it's a bit repetitive. And see where we go. This is a tiny bubble, so I don't want to put too much shadow in it. Now I have to do the big one. It's going to take a little bit more paint and patience. See, that's beginning to shade. So hopefully the light allows you to see what I hope is quite subtle shading. Just going to do it a little bit darker. My light is coming that way, so I want another layer down here. Okay, so it's time to put the mixture on, and you can see that even in the time that I've been doing this, the mixture on there is just about dried because it was a relatively small amount. That is going to be a tiny little bit there. That one's done, that one's done. This one's going to be just a tiny bit bigger. So I've got that on those, and then I'm going to put it in here. Obviously it's going to be a bit bigger in this one. Don't forget you can move it. You can just clean up these edges. I think this one needs to come around a little more, and this one needs to be a little bigger. And this one needs to come down a little more. Okay, so next job is to make sure that mixture is dried, and then I'll put the silver on. So my mixture has now dried off and gone clear, so I'm going to put my silver on there. Got my mirror silver here. It's only little tiny bits, but hopefully it'll make a big difference. That's beautiful. Just making sure I got it all covered. That looks fabulous. Okay, so what we have to do now is I want to get rid of all of this background, the white and what's left here. And what I'm going to use for that is I'm going to put on the gold flakes. Now this is a mixed box. I've got the silver, the copper and the gold in there. Because it's a bit of a mishmash of textures on there, I thought having a mishmash of colours would disguise any lumps and bumps a bit better. So what I need to do is, I'm very carefully not leaving my box open, but what I need to do is to paint on some of my, this is the liquid mixture, the gilding paste, so I'm going to paint some of that on, and then that needs to dry. That should only take 15 or 20 minutes to dry. It's quite a warm day in here today, so we'll take it from there. So, making a mess already. Right, so I'm just going to put some of this into my little pot to make it easier. So it's just in here just to make it easier to brush on. Again, I'm just going to be very careful up to my gold. Okay, so my mixture has now dried, and the thing with a gilding glue is that when it's dry it's still tacky, and that's what adheres the gilding flakes to it. Now the flakes I'm going to use are a mixture of these. So it's the Pebeo Deco Flakes, and I've got gold, silver and copper. And what I've done, just to make it easier for me to use, is I've put them in a takeaway pot. And this means I can mix them together to give me this lovely, beautiful mix of flakes. So I'm just going to start by pushing these around where I know my mixture is. I've put this on a piece of paper so I can gather up any spare and put them back in the box. And let's start with this. So I'm just going to start rubbing this around with my finger, nothing else. I'll show you in a minute how I get any flakes. They're not stuck down, but they just kind of loosely sit on the surface. So I'll show you how I remove those in a few minutes. Just keep piling them on. And they're not really sticking to my paint surface at all, which is fabulous. Just what I wanted. And I love this mix of the three flakes. So just move these around, pick them up. Need a few more over here. Ooh. Just managed to spray them everywhere. Let's see if I can gather them up before they end up all over my studio. Don't do this with an open window, folks, or a fan going. You can imagine, can't you? So this is beginning to cover really nicely. rubbing this all in with my finger. What you can do is you can just use a brush just to push them to where you want them to be, and then I'm just going to rub it in with my fingers. Sometimes the brush will just pick them up better than your fingers do. Coming around now, seeing where I have missed, making sure that is covered. I think I'm just about got it all over, which is fab. There's a couple of little bits around here. Brush these loose bits off as much as I can. Right, I'm just going to move that to one side for a second. Just put these bits back in my pot. As you can see, I've got plenty of bits that stayed on, floated away. Ooh, how lovely is this looking? Okay, now the next thing I'm going to use is just a very old kitchen sponge. And this just takes off any loose stuff and any bits that are where it shouldn't be. So there we have my bubbles with gilding flakes. I think that is rather beautiful.